Christ's peace to you, my friends. When I was really young, my brothers and sisters and I were convinced that a demon lived in the basement of my family home. He even had a name. We called him Kukui. Now, at the time also, my mom did a lot of canning. She would can tomatoes and vegetables and so forth. And every now and then she would send one of us to go fetch her a can of tomatoes from the basement. And they were located at the far end of the basement where there were no windows, where there was very little light. And that, we believed, is where Kukui lived. So every time she would send us for a can of something, it was like a death sentence for us. Thankfully, though, I grew up, and I was eventually able to confront this supposed fear that I had of this supposed demon, and to realize that there was no such thing. It's probably the closest I've gotten to an experience of a demon or a supposed demon, and also the closest I've gotten to the experience of expelling one in terms of confronting this unfounded fear. But as an adult, I am convinced that unclean spirits do exist, and they roam through our world rather freely. But the unclean spirits are not like the ones that we tend to think of, the ones that Hollywood has portrayed for us. Rather, they're unclean spirits of a different sort. And we hear in today's gospel, as we hear many times in Jesus' gospels, confronting these unclean spirits that hold people down, that cause suffering for them. And Jesus, out of his compassion and love for us, expelled them, freed people from these unclean spirits. And the task for us as disciples of Jesus is to do the same, is to confront the unclean spirits in our world and to expel them. Again, they're not the type that Hollywood portrays for us, but they are really the type that we've all witnessed this past year during this pandemic, as we've seen so many people suffer, and we've seen so many people being held down by forces beyond their control. We can think about all those who have been affected by COVID-19, all those who have gotten sick, all those who have died. We can also think about all those who do not have access to affordable health care and who have been left to fend for themselves in the midst of this pandemic. Those are unclean spirits in our world that have kind of filtered into our society and we have never really adequately addressed. This past summer as well, too, we saw racial tensions boil over and people protesting and working to try to establish racial justice. And we realize that it's systemic. It's not just, little things here, but it's really it's filtered into our society. And the task for us is really to address these unclean spirits that have been just roaming freely for so many years. We've seen as well, too, people who have lost their jobs, people who now are feeling food insecurity, that they don't have enough to eat. And we hear stories of people who used to volunteer at food shelters, at food pantries, now having to go to food pantries themselves because they are the ones who are in need. There are many examples that have bubbled to the surface this past year. Unclean spirits are the ones, again, who cause human suffering. They're the ones who hold people down. And the task for us is to eradicate them. There have been examples of people doing just that, really beautiful examples of people taking it upon themselves to right the wrongs of our world. I've seen many examples of people who have opened their own food pantries out of their garages with donations and so forth. All wonderful examples of how we can expel unclean spirits. This is the work of disciples. This is the work of the church, even the work of our parish. This weekend, pastors are asked to speak about the annual Catholic Appeal and its importance. Next weekend, Cardinal Supich will also speak about it and will have the opportunity to contribute to the annual Catholic Appeal, which goes to support many missions and ministries throughout the Archdiocese of Chicago, which help to create a more just world, which help to fund religious education, which helps parishes that are in need. All of those are ways that the annual Catholic Appeal reaches out into the world to help cast out these unclean spirits. And they also help us in our ministry here at St. Andrew too. Every year, we receive a refund for any money that is raised over and above the amount that is assigned to us that we have to raise. And in years past, we've gotten anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 because of the generosity of parishioners like you. And those monies have gone into our parish coffers to help shore up the deficits that we often face in our budget so that we can continue our ministry and our mission here at St. Andrew Parish. This year, perhaps more than ever, because of the loss of revenue that we've experienced, as many parishes have, because of the shutting down of our churches and so forth, we will rely on this refund more than ever. My friends, I ask you to seriously, prayerfully consider your participation in the annual Catholic Appeal. For it's a concrete way that all of us can work together to change our world for the good, to help expel those unclean spirits that cause so much human suffering. I ask you to join me in confronting them face on as we continue our ministry here at St. Andrew. And we need not be afraid. We need not worry. For those demons ultimately have no control over us. For we know that the love of Christ is stronger than any unclean spirit. And so, united as people of faith, through our charitable works, through our charitable donations, we can turn this world around and get rid of all the kukuis.